because of the number of questions expanded, yes, there are new requirements coming into the FEM 4.0, but whether or not that's actually applicable to your specific facility will depends on many other factors as well. So we have strengthened our applicabilities. We also expanded some of in the FEM 3.0, which is the current FEM 2022 version. Some of the questions were very comprehensive. We actually dissect them into multiple questions in the 4.0 in order to drive a better behavior at the facilities, as well as for the industry to collect a much more meaningful and actionable data for future analysis. So those are reasons why it's now expanded on the number of questions. So if we are going to the next slide, we're going to see a lot of like applicability. So we have now 23 pathway applicabilities to determine what applicable questions of facilities will have to answer. So that is why I say, you know, although that is a longer questions as a whole, but you will not answering every single of them because of these applicabilities. And we'll have, like, for example, continues from the 3.0, like water sessions questions will determine whether you're heavy water user or low or light water user, as well as what area that your facility is located. Are they in a high risk water scarcity location, or are they in a medium risk water scarcity location? So number of questions will be different. We're also revamping the wastewater sessions to be much more applicable. We have received many feedback in the past few years, and we take it all. That is why we created more applicabilities for you into that wastewater sessions, as well as air emissions. We have revamped the air emissions. Again, for those of you who have joined many of our webinars forum, that you will notice the differences. We, you know, as Melissa was saying, there are resources available for you now to actually understand those. Same thing for chemical. We have already also enhanced the chemicals to allow a better flow of the questions, as well as to truly, we're really trying our best to only assign questions that are applicable to, depends on what chemicals that you're using and how do you using your chemical as well. So all of those are currently available as well. So I keep saying that, you know, for those of you who have attended webinar in May, have also listeners to the online recording already available in the howtohigg.org, as well as you attended our recent manufacturing forum in Shenzhen, China, you will notice that we keep emphasizing the importance of start converging your annual volume to a predetermined annual volume unit measure. So I just wanted to we just find this out very recently, that we made a mistake in our training materials towards the one of the facility type. So as you can see in here, the yellow highlighted is that if you are a facility type, if you are finished product processing, meaning that you're doing product printing, product dyeing, product painting, or product laundry, as well as product finishing. In all of our training, recording, and forum, we said that the default unit of measurement is units or pieces or pairs. So this is actually an incorrect information. So if you are in this group of the facility type, you should be measuring and tracking your annual volume based on kilograms, which is kg. So again, we apologize for the miscommunications. We are sending out communications to all attendees that have attended our forums, our webinars, very specific lists that I'm going to go out to you specific, as well as we are going to redo our recording online, but that will take some time. But I just want you guys to be aware of this, as well as you guys are in our pilot participant. So Next would be, we do not have time to go through all the extended content changes and, for each of the sessions, but like we put together some of the examples for each of the sessions for you here. For example, in the site information, we have new questions about asking whether or not you are operating the industry zone or park. Again, this is not a score question, so don't worry about it. If I'm not locating industry part, does that mean an issues? No, it is not an issues. Again, we also wanted to understand whether facilities actually included in and disclosure their GHG emissions in the broader corporate disclosure. Again, this is more of us starting to collect some of the industry data to evaluate where we are as an industry. So then onto the EMS sessions, we added questions about policies, and also we added trainings. We have expectation about facility training their employees on their environmental awareness as well as their management strategies, because by doing that, we believe then the EMS performance from a facility as a whole should be able to sustain as well. And one of the things that we also added in the Higg FEM 4.0 is about soil and groundwater contaminations. There are questions about how do facility confirm that. So if you have questions about that, please look at the How to Higg guide. We have a details instruction on how facility can actually confirm there's no soil and groundwater contamination for you to answer the FEM questions. So on to the energy. For the energy session, we expanded number of questions only because we wanted to collect a lot more data for us to help you as a facilities to calculate your scope 1 and scope 2 emissions factor, meaning that anything that energy you created and generated and used on site, as well as any energy source that you're purchasing outside of your facility, but using it on site. So because of that, we had to have collected many different points in order to get to that more accurate scope 1 and scope 2 emission factor for single facilities, as well as we want to start, understanding how facilities are working their way up to the renewable energy options, as well as whether or not they're purchasing EAC as well as carbon offset. That is why some of those questions are there. We also, very important to note that we also separated the on-site energy sources versus the energy sources that you're using with your own domestic and production control vehicle. In the past, people have misunderstood either they're combined or exclude, so we have very specific questions now to give you a very clear instruction on where you're going to enter your energy data, depends where you're going to use them. So that is, again, also why it is expanded number of questions in the energy level. Very similar to water, we have done similar things with energies. But then we also categorize the water based on the industry standard. We're also asking facility to reduce the use of the blue water and then using more of the gray water as well. So again, so those have been details in the recording as well as in our technical papers. So next is wastewater sessions. So something to note is that we are also asking for BOD5 level parameters. That's only because we also have in a How to Higg guide, we have instruction on how you can actually measure that. So please reference to that as well. We are using that to provide us a much, again, accuracy of the scope 1 and scope 2 emission of the facilities. There are a new set of questions regarding wastewater sludge management, which align with the CDHC wastewater sludge guideline. So if you are familiar with the wastewater sludge guideline from CDHC, you should have no problems in completing these questions in FEM. As well as onto the waste, we have redefined the waste disposal method and how we encourage a much preferred disposal method. And our rewarding system, which is the scoring system, will also associate with that. Those disposal method is really taking from an industry standards perspective, as well as we are also very much focused on how you're going to manage your hazardous waste management as well. So we separate all the hazardous and non-hazardous waste management now instead of combine them into one questions like we have in FEM 3.0. So air emissions, many of you, if you are one of them, commented in the past few years about how you don't like air emissions, you know, how those are not applicable to you. I'm telling you, we are revamping that sessions. I hope that the new layout of the question will be able to drive a much better proper behavior and positive behavior of your facilities, as well as asking you to do the right thing instead of asking you to do the impossible things. So take a look at it when you have a chance on the air emissions. And as you're going through this, do let us know your comment as well. So then over last session, which is the chemical, we have also, as I was saying, the applicabilities, we created new applicabilities for facilities that don't ever use everybody use chemical, but you don't use those, you use very minimal chemical, like, you know, your normal domestic laundry or painting, like, you know, renovation. We will have those special applicabilities that only a subset of a chemical question will apply to you, versus if you're using chemical in your, let's say, machine lubricant, your wastewater treatment plant versus your production, those are different set of chemical questions to be answered. So again, we continue to adopt the chemical technical guide from ZEXC, as well as try to align them with the Supply to Zero programs for the chemical sessions as well. So this is like very fast content update, but what I wanted to reassure and also want you guys to know and be aware when you're completing in this pilot, you should start with the site informations and permit sessions, because many of these questions show high logic is coming from the site informations. If you have it incorrect there, and then you later find out that you made a mistake, either that you won't aware because you just don't know the logic, or you have to redo some of those questions. So it's going to take you some time. So I would say that do the site information first and do it properly, making sure they're all accurately answered. Then, and also same for the applicabilities. So do it accurately, properly, then you should have all the proper questions popping up without the needs to going back and forth and redo some of those questions. So that would be my recommendations to you all during the pilot. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Melissa.
Thank you, Angelo. And that was very meaty. And we have quite a number of meaty questions in the chat box that we would probably want to address either in subsequent communications. So to wrap up on what we're expecting of you in this pilot. As we mentioned earlier, as I started off saying, we've got two levels on this pilot. We're working with both brands and facilities, considering the impact that the changes are likely to have on both of you. So we have expectations and reminders and little tidbits for both of you in the same vein. Again, in reviewing some of the chats and some of the comments coming through on the Q&A, I'm hoping that these pointers can allay some of the concerns that are natural. But again, we're trying to make it very clear to you that you don't need to fear or worry about certain things when it comes to the pilot. So for brands, remember that actually for both brands and facilities, both remember that this is a pilot. It's a test run. A critical eye and feedback on your experience are essential to us. You take yourself back to why we're doing this and the objectives and goals of this pilot. We're trying to assess the platform readiness. We're trying to give you an opportunity to get your feet wet on the data and to get familiar with what's going to be needed when the full run launches in November. It's sort of like a test drive, a test run, and a familiarization opportunity. So don't fear impact or implications of scoring and all of those things from your data input at this point of your journey with us. We're testing the platform. We're giving you an opportunity to early access the new changes and the new content to start to get comfortable with what's really being required and the kinds of data that you would need to be collecting. So feedback, being critical, we expect you to be critical. We expect you to feedback. And actually that will be very valuable to us on this exercise. It's why we're inviting you to it. It's why we're opening up for it to be engaging. Please explore the limits during the assessment that you will be embarking on, and consciously assess the impact of your actions while you're using the platform, while you're accessing the survey, while you're filling out questions, as I said, the challenges, the impacts on you, on your process, on your systems. That's what we're trying to evaluate, again, with the overall long-term impact of or effort to minimize the disruption that the changes are bringing to both you and how you operate with the data that you get out of them. So for brands, not yet. For brands, what we would like to encourage, we would like to encourage you to encourage your facilities to complete and share within the 3-week period. No share means no data. No data means nothing to assess, means, sorry to say, but a waste of time. We want you to analyze everything, brands. Analyze the data extracts when you have them to hand. Analyze how the data downloads, how you have Excel access, how it compares, how data compares to previous assessments, and the relative ease of all the activities that you would naturally do on an FEM. We want you or expect that you would assimilate the data that you receive. Again, how does it impact your report building? How does it link to any external reporting that you currently engage on? And ask questions. We welcome, no question is a foolish question. We welcome all questions and can't encourage enough that you evaluate all of the activities that you will be doing within this next few weeks with us with a very critical eye. Be critical, try to break things, give us feedback. For facilities, it's similar, but there's a slight difference. Of course, your activities that are different to the brands. You are encouraged to see it through, complete, post, and share your FEM. As mentioned, there's a slight difference for the SAC non-nominated members. You would know yourselves. If you have been nominated by a brand, you will know that the brand has nominated you because you would have received communication to that effect. The non-nominated SAC members otherwise have not. And your mission on this journey is to complete and post the FEM. Sharing will not be necessary for you. For nominated facilities, yes, please, the end game for you is sharing with the brand that has nominated you. For facilities, we encourage you to ask for support where needed. Use the support ticket system. Attend the office hours. Reach out. We have some contact details at the end of the slide. You can reach out to any of us at any point in time. To get support, to call for help, to see yourself through the 3-week period, getting to the 20th of August confidently, 100% at 100% completion and posting your assessment. Again, the post-pilot survey to be confirmed. Stand by, it may be coming your way. If it does or if it doesn't, communications will go out the same to advise. And most importantly for all, once again, remember this is a pilot. The platform will not be perfect. Expect that things may look and feel a little bit incomplete, and there will be a degree of imprecision. Accuracy in this window is not the objective. Testing the platform, familiarizing with the data, and getting your feet wet on the content is. So be patient with it, be patient with us, and don't be too hell-bent on precision in terms of the data that you're entering. As development continues, we are looking to November 2nd for the actual Cadence launch, when, of course, then it will become, or we will get back to FEM 2023 actually being live, and then things being more formal as far as FEM goes. So keep in mind the distinction. This is a pilot. This is not FEM 2023 in totality. With that, I see we do have about 13 minutes more in our time. In that time, I believe we could perhaps just have a look for any questions that we have not been able to answer on the chat.
Lisa, allow me to just say a few things just to reassure the expectation as well. Sure. I see some of the common questions as well. So I just wanted to make sure that for those of you who is a SAC member manufacturers that are not nominated by any brands customers, you do not need to share your modules to your brand's customer at this point in the pilot. So versus if your facilities that either members manufacturers or non-member manufacturers, as long as you're being nominated and invited by a brand's customers to be on the pilot, you will be required to share your modules with the brands so that they can have the data to continue with the brand's pilot with us. So that's one of the key difference. Another is that, as usual, there's no changes that all FEM answers should be answered in English on the platform. There is no need for you to translate any supporting documents from your local language to English. It is not necessary. It is never necessary in the real FEM anyway. So it's not just a pilot. So please do not attempt to translate hundreds of documents into English just because it's the FEM. Is really not necessary. As well as the timeline, the deadline is August 28th. It's very important for you all to follow that deadline because Worldly is waiving the modules fee for FEM 2023 cadence for you, and only because that you are able to participate in a pilot, as well as you, meaning that you will complete and post the modules and share with your brand nominated brands partners by August 28th, 2023. Okay, so if you miss that timeline, what does that mean is that in November, you may have to pay for the modules if, so that's something is a conditional as well. And I do wanted to reassure that, yes, we are not trying to perfections. There will be no perfect platform right now. I can tell you that for this pilot. The team is working very hard to address the best as we can before we roll out that modules to you in the pilot. So you will be probably aware that there's some glitch or some weirdness in there. If you do aware of that, please do raise that ticket and we'll try to address that as soon as we can. But don't be alarmed if the platform is not the way that you're expecting, even though minor mistake. So please do be aware of that one.
On that note, Angela, I will encourage facilities, if you find yourself blocked or unable to move through with your assessment at any point during the 3 weeks, August 7th to August 28th, please, again, we can't stress enough, reach out, file your ticket, make sure you select the right category for your ticket and the right section. Again, that will help us to address your concern. We're aiming for a 12 to 24-hour response time on all tickets within the pilot window. Aiming, that is our support to you. Again, in the interest of helping you get through the assessment with full completion by the end of the 3-week period. Again, there will be office hours to support you in that time as well. If you find that you have tickets that have log tickets that have not been addressed or responded to, we absolutely want to work with you and support you on being unblocked to get through the entire assessment within the time required. Next steps, I see a hand up. Do we want to Hati? Are you able to speak? If not, could you probably write your question into the chat, into the Q&A box, please? While you do so, let me just again run quickly through the next steps and what you can expect over the coming days following today's session. Within another 24 to 48 hours, we will be, not necessary to go through the appendix.